All right, I'm Matt. This is my younger brother Yin. He's going to be helping me demo things and so forth. So I wanted to talk about my concept of three basic timings. And I think a lot of the problem with a lot of traditional martial arts or martial arts in general is that they base everything off of one of what I would consider to be the three primary timings in terms of how a confrontation will go down. So the first one would be, we're here, you could call it the interview. In other words, this is where, we're arguing, he asks me, do you have any money? And I go, and he's about to attack or whatever, or where he's like, you've been fucking looking at my girlfriend, what the fuck is wrong, that sort of thing, right? So whatever it is, that only happens to us once or twice every day. But, so if that's the case, of course, and you have a reasonable expectation of bodily harm, I'm not a lawyer, of course, but you have a reasonable expectation of needing to defend yourself, you're not going to wait for him to attack. Why? Especially, I don't know if he's armed. I may see him gesture as if if you gesture as if you have a weapon or whatever. I'm not going to stop. Yeah, I'm not going to wait for that. So I mean, let's assume that was a weapon. That sucks. So before he gets there, imagine it's in your pocket or whatever. So as I see him reaching for it, that's when I need to take action. So I don't wait for him to, if I can avoid it, for him to do his thing, or you can put it down. Or even if it's just a strike, why would I wait for this to happen if I can avoid it? So before that happens, it's like, hey, you know what I mean? You take action. So any technique, let's take like in word technique, whatever that means. Let's take like in Xingyi, we think like say the Pichuan, right? However you have it. Or even Tai Chi, we say like your commencement or something. However you do it. Rather than always thinking in terms of I'm going to respond in some way, you should think about how does it work also preemptively. So maybe for the Pichuan, maybe that's how it begins, and then I follow up however. Or maybe I just go straight into the split, and I go into, or maybe for this, maybe rather than it being like this, maybe this is boom, right? That's the opening of the commencement. Or you could think of any number of different things. So that would be the first one. The second one is, let's say, the interview has not gone well, but I didn't have good enough reason to hit him or to try to finish it. But he lifts his hands. So he's like, okay, now it starts, right? So probably it's not going to happen at this range. But what he might do is he might push me back. So he pushes me back and then he raises his hands, right? Well, he probably wouldn't raise his hands that close, but you get the idea. So like if I'm the attacker, we're arguing, I say this, and then we go. Right? So now, once we're here, right, if he puts up a good guard, so like here, now I have to think about how do I get through. So I don't necessarily have to do something to get through like that, because then we could get caught up. I could kind of leap through like that. I mean, you could do any number of things, but we just want to think in terms of how do I get past this scenario. So, or this sort of position. It doesn't have to be this, a boxing guard. It could be any kind of guard. It could be him just sort of throwing his hand up, like here. You know what I mean? Now we have a bridge, as they call it in Chinese martial arts. So, you have that possibility. So the third possibility, of course, is the one that traditional martial artists deal with all the time, which is none of that other stuff happens. I don't attack preemptively. We don't end up in a set piece battle, if you will. But whatever. I'm just like, hey man, I wasn't looking at her ass. I swear. And he hits first, right? Or whatever. Or he grabs. And so we're here. So now he's moved first. So ideally, you don't let him move first. But he may. So then we have all of this. Like, okay, so first of all, don't let him get that close. But let's say we're a little bit further out and you punch, right? So now, now I can do whatever my thing is. I'm being silly, sorry. But actually, that's a good example. Notice how he telegraphed that. You pulled it back. See, that's when I move. But don't telegraph it this time. Just bring it straight like that. So now I have this sort of a thing, where whatever my move is, it doesn't make any difference. But the point is that here, now we can do whatever. But if your whole strategy is based on that, and you see this a lot, like throw a typical like karate-ish punch like this. Okay, if I'm going to do a move like, okay, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and then right, whatever. That would have been a terrible throw. It was a bad example. But if that's what everything is based on, then I'm going to be waiting for this moment, right? But he might not ever give me that. In other words, this is an extension which may or may not ever happen. So he may not be into that. He may not be thinking about plowing through me. He might be more cautious. So if I'm him, if I'm the attacker, instead of it being like this might be more like, or the whole thing is to grab. It could be any number of things. So my point is, if you're relying on this kind of extension to do my amazing, look, I do kung fu move, then it might never happen. So let's say he's not being cooperative, don't kill me too much, but he throws this and he just pulls it back, and I'm like, what's my move? And then I get caught up in this. And because he doesn't give a fuck, right? He's pissed because I was looking at his girlfriend's ass. He doesn't give a fuck about, oh, we're going to do a kung fu fight now. He's just like, I'm going to, exactly. So that's when you get caught up in this. I try my move and it doesn't work, and then I start to panic, right? My move didn't work, and he's like trying to hit me. And so I end up like this. And there's not enough room. And so then, realistically, if we're this close, that's when I start doing this, because that's what you're genetically programmed to do, right? If someone's hitting you, you're genetically programmed to hold on. But think about it. I'm a fairly, I gained a lot of weight over the winter, but I'm a fairly little guy. If it's someone like this, watch, he can just pick me up. Just pick me up, right? Let me try. Hernia, right? It's not going to work. So the whole. See, I told you I gained a lot of weight. So you can't get stuck into that concept of it's going to be a particular type of timing in terms of any one of them is wrong. In other words, if a lot of sport fighters, and I don't mean to criticize them too much, they think that it's going to be this. So it's like, okay, start, and we do, right? But what if we're here and he just swings at me, right? Okay, that's not what I was expecting. So, and a lot of, but on the other hand, a lot of traditional martial artists might expect, he's going to throw something like that. So then, what if he does this? Now I'm kind of lost, because now we're moving around, or he's moving around, right, like this. And I'm waiting for that committed shot, which gives me an opening. And if he's doing that sort of thing, I'm lost, right? And it doesn't. All of that is a mistake, because what if before any of that process got started, what if I should have interrupted the process to begin with? So if we're here and the interview is going on, and I know that I'm about to be attacked, I need to get the fuck out of there. This is no longer a cool place to be. Or I need to put in, you know what I mean? Like, look at that beard, that's scary. You definitely don't want to. So that's why, you don't wait. You know what I mean? And you notice how once you move, because see, also notice how he's doing it reflexively now. This is a sign, this is a handle. Because you do this out of two things, either aggression or anxiety or fear, right? So either it's aggression like this, like kind of wasted aggression, because this doesn't do me any good, or it's fear. Either way, it gives me something to grapple onto, right? But see how, if we're here and I just don't have any of that, you see how I can go through. Or that was kind of hard, but if I'm a little softer, right? And I see that. I see this. You see, so, right? I can move through. See? And that, like I said, that gives me a handle. All right, thank you. Hopefully that makes sense.